So for 30, 60, 90 triangles are a little bit more complicated than the 45, 45, 90 triangle. And so what we have is everything is in reference to the short leg. So we have a 30-degree angle here, a 60-degree angle here, and a 90-degree angle here. So the shortest leg is across from the smallest angle, which is 30. So our short leg really is our reference place. This is kind of the place you should always be looking for. So this is the short leg. Now this one right here across from the hypotenuse, we already know is across the right angle is the hypotenuse. And then last, this one's the long leg. Why? Because it's longer than the short leg, because it's across from the 60 degrees, so it's going to be longer than the one across from the shorter angle. So we call it the long leg. It's not the longest leg because that would be the hypotenuse, which the hypotenuse isn't a leg, it's called the hypotenuse. So anyways, in reference to the short leg, the long leg is just taking it and multiplying by the square root of 3. In reference to the short leg, the hypotenuse is 2 times the short leg. So that's why the short leg is so important here, because we need to go back to the short leg so that we can figure out what the long leg is and what the hypotenuse is. And then if you ever want to go, remember, if you want to go from a larger side to a smaller side, you're going to divide. So if we're going to go from the hypotenuse to the short leg, we would divide the hypotenuse by 2. If we want to go from the long leg to the short leg, we would divide the long leg by the square root of 3. Then once you have the short leg, you can easily go to the hypotenuse by doubling it, or to the long leg by multiplying by the square root of 3. So let me just show you a couple quick examples here. And I do have some problems on the bottom to go over as well. So here's our 30, 60, 90 triangle. And so if the short leg, it's nice to start with the short leg. If the short leg is 10, well, the hypotenuse, which is across from the right angle, is just 2 times that. And the long leg, which is across from the 60, is the short leg times the square root of 3. So it's really easy if you're given the short leg to find the other two. And that's why it's good to go back to the short leg if you're given one of the others. And that's what we'll see right now. So notice going from smaller to larger, this rule still applies. Shorter to longer, let me just go ahead. I'm going to put this over here because that applies to both of them. If you're ever going from a shorter leg to a longer, multiply. If you're going from longer to shorter, divide. So if we start with, let's just say we start with a hypotenuse of 8. So how do we go backwards? We're not going to go, let's say you want the long leg. If the question's asked for the long leg, you can't go directly to the long leg. You need to go back to the short leg first. So if you remember, the hypotenuse is 2 times the short leg. Remember, that's our rule right here. The hypotenuse is 2 times whatever the short leg is. So how do we go backwards? Instead of multiplying by 2, we will divide by 2. So 8 divided by 2 is 4. And then to go to the long leg, we just take that 4 and multiply by the square root of 3. So that's going to be the progression that we're going to go through with here. If we start with the long leg, let's just say we start with the long leg, then let's just give it an answer. Let's go with 6. So in order to go, and let's say we want to know what the hypotenuse is, you got to go back to the short leg first. So how are we going to do that? Well, normally the long leg is just taking the short leg times the square root of 3. So in order to go back to the short leg, we will divide by the square root of 3. So this will become 6 divided by the square root of 3. Now, can we leave it like that? No. So we got to rationalize it. Rationalize the denominator. Remember, so we multiply by the square root of 3 over the square root of 3, which gives us 6 square root of 3 over 3, which becomes 2 square root of 3. So this, in other words, is 2 square root of 3. And then how do we go to the hypotenuse? Well, we just double that number. So 2 square root of 3 times 2 is just 4 square root of 3. And that's how the 30, 60, 90 works. We do have some more examples down here that I'm going to go through in the future videos.